Hey guys, I am Game Advisor, and today we'll be doing a first look video on the game Once Human. Well, what exactly is Once Human? Well, Once Human is kind of this new unique sandbox survival game where you will have to fight against alien-like creatures. And when I say alien-like creatures, there is actually more lore to it. They're not just aliens, it's kind of like this whole rift void thing going on, but I'm not going to really get too much into that right now as I don't want to spoil it for those of you who are actually interested in the plotline. And I will say the plotline is actually pretty solid, but nonetheless, I do want to mention that the game is also currently planned for release as of Q4 2023, so that's going to be the end of this year. So if you're interested in it, make sure you keep an eye on it, and if you guys do decide that you want to, pick up the game, make sure to throw a wish list down because you never know, there could always be a pushback. They could decide to release something early, and you'll want to know when it gets released, just like with any other game. It is also important to note that this game is being published by NetEase, but, and this is an important but, it is being developed by Starry Studio. They are not NetEase themselves. It is a different developer team than NetEase, and I really want to preface that for those of you who do know NetEase, and if you have any beef with them, this is not necessarily going to be those kinds of games, all right? This is a different developer, and if you're worried about that or you don't know who NetEase is, feel free to go ahead and look into it yourself. That's up to you. But nonetheless, just remember, this is a development studio called Starry Studios. They're just being published by them. The game itself, though, is actually pretty awesome. I'm just going to give it to you straight. I really enjoyed my time with the beta, and I am not just saying that. It was really fun. There was a lot going on. The game felt very unique and very interesting in a way I really haven't felt with a survival game in quite some time. The game itself does have, like I said earlier, a really good storyline, and I was actually getting invested in it, and I kind of was bummed out when I started getting towards the end of the beta and was like, all right, kind of got to stop here and just enjoy the game, or, the game time was out and I couldn't continue it. So I am looking forward to seeing what happens with that plot line. And again, I'm not going to spoil anything for you. Just know it's really cool. If you want to know more about it, check out like their Steam page or something, or I'm sure somebody else will post a video telling you everything that happens, but personally, I don't want to spoil it for you, and I don't think you should spoil it for yourself. I will say the main plot point is, and you find this out really early in the game, is that you're trying to stop more or less this giant god thing, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Now, there is kind of this clan system, the same way that you would see a clan system in something maybe like New World or like Ark, where you can kind of group up with large numbers of players together and try to accomplish bigger overarching goals, which we'll talk about because it does relate to the PvP systems built into the game, and I didn't get to experience all of them, but I will say the PvP itself did feel pretty well balanced for a beta especially, and it was really enjoyable to actually go in and fight other players when I did get that opportunity. Keep in mind, you can just turn the PvP off and play on a PvE only server if that's something you want to do. But if you do like PvP, that option is going to be available for you. And I think the game is definitely trying to build itself to have PvP be a core element of it, but that doesn't mean it wouldn't be fun with just the PvE elements. Now, if you do decide to join on a PvP server, basically you're going to have these like worlds you can jump between, which essentially represent sub-servers within the PvP server. So all of those worlds are PvP servers themselves with different instancing. So if you're on like World 3, that's going to be the PvP world server you're on. And if you wanted to go to World 1, you'd be on the World 1 PvP server. This works pretty much how Ark does. You can't like go to a PvE server from a PvP server though. So if you commit to PvP, you're locked into PvP, at least right now. Keep in mind, all this is in development. We don't know what's going to change. There's still several months to go before this gets released, and we don't know what direction certain things are going to take. As far as the combat itself goes, it felt pretty smooth. It's something kind of like PUBG in an essence, or like DayZ in a way. There's this third-person overlook your shoulder aiming system you can do, or you can just tap to kind of go into like a first-person ADS system where you aim down your sights. Both are totally viable. There is melee, but it's not exactly the most in-depth thing in the world, and that's not necessarily a bad thing because the game is really built around shooting and stuff, so you're not really going to be doing a lot of melee anyways. Nonetheless, I will say the combat in general felt really smooth for a beta. I was way better than I was expecting it to be. The boss fights in particular were honestly just awesome. They were really cool to experience, and I only got to do 2 of them this time around. One of them was basically this big, tall Gatling gun attached to his arm guy, and he would spray at you and launch stuff at you, and then spawn some like respawning nodes where ads would spawn out of them and start running at you, and you had to deal with those while he was trying to snipe you with lasers. It's awesome. And then the other one was this big tree guy that basically you have to take down these tentacles that do different mechanics towards you, and he shoots these projectiles at you, and you can't get close to him because he does a big AoE, and he has this whole mechanic where you have to hide in like a force field. It was awesome. The bosses were absolutely just blew me away for a beta test. These felt really good and really smooth, and they're important because they're related to your progression. So let's say you get to like level 8 or 10 and you want to unlock an ability, or you want to unlock a blueprint to say craft something like electricity, like a generator. If you want to craft that generator, or you want to craft say a garage or whatever else, you're going to have to beat a certain boss before you're allowed to put talent points in there in order to unlock that recipe. So if you want to say unlock the garage, you have to beat the first boss first. So it kind of serves as kind of like this gateway to encourage you to go get past these certain checkpoints of difficulty, which in this case is bosses. And then you also have to get levels from just grinding regular mobs, crafting gear, and all that stuff. Speaking of which, yes, there is vehicles in the game, and yes, there is actually a lot of this regular old survival mechanics. You've got to eat food, you've got to drink drinks, you've got to do all your stereotypical survival stuff, build your base, build turrets on your base to protect your base from both PvE and PvP. There's just everything you would expect in a normal survival situation. And the crafting system, I actually really enjoyed. Basically, you just queue up items, and then it will take those materials out of your inventory, start crafting them, and then you can come back when they're done. The timers didn't feel too long either. They felt really well balanced. So if I wanted to craft like 99 copper bars or something, I might wait maybe 10 minutes, go off, do some more farming, come back, and my copper bars were done and ready to go. Felt totally reasonable for the amount of value I'm getting out of crafting resources. To get some of the resources though, you're gonna have to go loot towns and get things like screws and components, and then disassemble them to get other components that you can only get from those components. And it sounds confusing, but basically it just means if you want like glue or adhesive, you gotta go find something that you can disassemble with glue in it from a town. Not very complex, but very fun and unique, and makes it so that you're not just grinding like rocks all day. This game wants you to actually go fight stuff and have fun while gathering, not just sit there hitting a rock or a tree. Yes, you do that too a little bit, but it's like maybe 3 to 5% of the time, and the other 90 to 95% of the time, you're out there grinding mobs, going and looting a town, doing something fun and engaging. There is also a whole side quest system and all this other stuff, but the only other system I really want to mention really quick is the weapon blueprint system. And this is a really important integral part of the game. So basically the way this works is, let's say you want to craft, I don't know, a blue SMG or a green sniper rifle or pistol or something like that. If you want to craft that weapon, first you have to get enough blueprint fragments of that weapon and that weapon's tier. So if I want the green sniper, I would need, say, 30 green sniper fragments. Not actually that hard to get, as the bosses in the beta were at least dropping us quite a few, and you only had to kill a boss once or twice usually to get whichever blueprint you were looking for, but enough to where, you would get it quickly, but not too quickly. Once you did get it and you were able to craft that weapon would then be able to be upgraded further with more blueprint fragments, which could be from any weapon type. So if, say, I want to upgrade my green weapon, all I need to do is put some weapon fragments from any gun into that weapon, and it'll upgrade the blueprint so I can craft a better version of it. It sounds confusing. It's really not. Basically, get fragments to get a recipe, get more fragments to upgrade a recipe. And it's really important to the gameplay because this is how you're going to unlock better weapons with elemental types like lightning and stuff like that, or fire like a shotgun I had at one point and an SMG I had at one point. Regardless, as far as my overall experience for the game, to put it shortly for you, it was awesome. It was way better than I thought this game would be, and it was really, really fun to engage with. I had an absolute blast experiencing the bosses, experiencing even the grinding process. I mean, I can't even remember the last time I just enjoyed grinding in a video game. And I did hear, because the grinding wasn't, hey, go smack rock for 3 hours. It was, hey, go loot this town where there's all these dangerous mobs and try to get some cool loot from it, and then maybe go grind this boss a couple times, and all this other stuff. Yes, there were some balancing and bug issues along the way, but keep in mind, this is still in development. It's okay to have those. They have time to fix them, and there was nothing game-breaking I came across. We're talking very, very, very minor bugs here, like a dude clipping a little bit through a wall. Like, that's it. That's not a big deal. That's an easy fix. This game had no issues that I came across outside of that, and a very, very tiny amount of FPS problems on the first day of the beta. By the second day, they put out a patch, and guess what? It was basically solved. Whatever the issue was, they fixed it. And that is a good sign from a development company. It means they see an issue, they know the players have an issue, and they fixed it. They didn't wait 2 months to solve an issue that was causing problems for players. They literally fixed it in hours, not days, hours. And that is something that's just unheard of these days. Regardless, the game was awesome. I definitely recommend you guys all check into it yourself. Go wishlist it if it sounds like it's going to be fun for you. I know I'm going to be wishlisting it, and I think this game has a ton of potential to be a massively popular and incredibly good game. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching, and I want to give a big shout out to our Platinum and Above channel members, which include Jonathan S., Caustic FPV, Gerald89, and Jim Phillips. I'm Game Advisor, and I'll see you next time.